and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Lamar Jackson is expected to return this week from a hamstring injury. Baltimore are set to face the Dolphins.
We know it's going to be a big challenge down there. We've been down there before. We've been down there on Thursday night before. We'll have to do everything we can do to get ready and be ready on a short turnaround. That's what we're working on.
Snoop did a great job. He led an inspired crew, but I think you got to prepare for the all-pro so you're not surprised on game day.
Lamar is back. He's excited. He's gotten those ping pong tables out the locker room. Said we are focused, we are ready, and we're coming.
Unsportsmanlike is presented by Progressive Insurance, saving you bundle motorcycle, RV, and boat insurance. Visit Progressive.com. Yes, the Ravens and the Dolphins are in low places right now, Pat Costello. Thank you for that. As both teams, not exactly very good. But tonight, Thursday Night Football, Lamar Jackson, South Florida native, Boynton Beach High School graduate, returns to South Florida to play the Miami Dolphins. Dan Orlovsky, who's going to join us in about an hour or so, called the Baltimore Ravens a lurking giant.
Oh.
Smalls, go ahead. What made you have that reaction to that?
Well, it's a 2-win football team who's got a lot of injuries and who hasn't been particularly good so far this season. So I understand that Vegas thinks that they're a lurking giant, and I could see how Dan could make that case, but I got to see it to believe it when it comes to Baltimore.
Are they done with the loss tonight? Are they done before a loss tonight?
They're done.
If you lose to the Miami Dolphins,
they're done.
You can lose to anybody.
Okay, so that seems like an easy one, right? They're done with the loss. They go to 2-6.
Yeah.
The frustration is there. They have to reconsider thoughts around the trade deadline, sellers on buyers,
Yeah, here's
etc.
the thing. Technically, they wouldn't be done. I don't know that this is a playoff game, so to speak, even though Lamar Jackson is clearly going into Thursday night with that mindset. Right, the winner of the AFC North may very well have 9 wins under their belt, right? And the Baltimore Ravens are at 2, so that means they'd have to find a way to get 7 of their final 10 if we're just doing the quick and dirty math. It's entirely possible that they can do that even if they lose tonight. But if they lose tonight, to me, it's an indicator that the things that we thought they had fixed just aren't. The defense, which has looked great the last 2 games, isn't as buttoned up as me may well have thought, right? I mean, you consider the actual factors. LA Rams, week 6, that's the game that Puka Nacua got hurt in. Hard for the Rams to pivot mid-game and make that adjustment. Coming off of the bye week, you're playing the Chicago Bears. There's 2 weeks to prepare, so maybe you had a chance to do a deep dive, put them under the microscope, and figure out some things that the Bears just didn't have the ability to do because they didn't have the time. I'm curious to see whether or not the defense has improved and is playing and can play at the requisite level needed for the Baltimore Ravens to be able to stack some wins in the second half of this season.
There are so many interesting storylines. You wouldn't think this about a 2-5 game at a 2-6 game, or a 2-5 team at a 2-6 team, right? Like, I've already thrown it out there. If the Ravens fall apart this year, I think John Harbaugh makes all the sense in the world to take over the Miami Dolphins next year, the team they're playing tonight, right? Lamar Jackson from South Florida years ago when he was a pending free agent, nobody wanted him, and you're like, well, do you know Lamar is from 45 minutes away from where you're? Who cares about Tua? Go get Lamar. All these things. Flip it the other way. What if the Ravens win? What if the Ravens win and they go to 3-5? What if then, according to our information here, 53% chance of actually winning the division they would if they jump to 3-5? Aren't we going to look at them in a way? And yes, that is a leading question, but aren't we going to look at them in a way that is, all right, first part of the season was because Lamar was hurt. Now Lamar is back. Are they back? Our mindset's not going to change at all around this team?
Nah, but losing to the Bills and losing to the Lions, it had nothing to do with the Lamar Jackson injury. You just got your ass kicked. So I know that we might try to reframe the narrative, but that's just lazy. That's not what happened. This is a flawed Ravens roster, and Lamar Jackson has been masking it for a while now. And unfortunately, just so happens that he had the early season injury, and he wasn't able to cover up all of the ills that have been plaguing this Ravens team for a minute. So if they're able to turn the season around, then that signals growth from the offensive perspective, but also on the defensive side of the ball and with special teams. This is going to take a team effort. And here's the thing. John Harbaugh is a proven program builder, and he is somebody that emphasizes the importance of your team improving throughout the course of the season. So it's not off the table that we could get a better version of Ravens defense, a better version of the Ravens run game at this stage, now that we're getting close to November. I just got to see it before I believe it.
Totally.
And that's
totally
where I'm
fair.
at right now. And that's why, looking at this game against the Miami Dolphins, it's going to tell me a lot more about the Baltimore Ravens one way or the other than it is anything about what Miami got going on.
Yeah, they're done.
Even though we just saw the most complete game from this team a week ago, even though Tua looked like the Tua that the Dolphins signed to that contract, he was distributing the ball. Hold on, 4 touchdowns to 4 different players. He was really moving things around. If they beat Baltimore, you don't think that we'll have any sort of conversation about the Dolphins maybe finding their way?
How the Dolphins going to get into
can't
it, though?
see it.
They're not going to catch up to the New England Patriots.
And by maybe finding their way, I'm not saying playoff team, I'm not
Okay.
saying winning of division, but maybe changing the narrative around this team and about their future.
Interesting.
Okay, let's talk about
That's
that.
interesting.
Because we're talking about a head coach, a GM, and potentially a quarterback that may not be there next year. Mm-hmm. They look pretty good against Atlanta. I know that we always want to say that's more about Atlanta than it is Miami, but Tua was really good in that game. The Dolphins were a complete team in that game.
Yeah, it's interesting because
That is interesting.
Here's what's interesting about it. I said yesterday that I think someone somewhere is going to find value in sustainability and not having a quick hook on things. I don't know who that is. I don't know where that is. But you're walking me down the path of asking you back the question of this. Could Stephen Ross and the Miami Dolphins be that place that says we're not going to do what you think we should do because we don't believe this stuff can be fixed as quickly as you, fans, media, think it can be fixed. So we are going to actually take our time. We are not going to give in to the quote-unquote peer pressure of this, and we are going to allow a coach to establish himself over a longer period of time than you think we should.
It's not how you start the season, it's how you finish the season. And if it could not have gotten any worse than it was in Miami to start the season. Not only was the product not there on the field, you had all of the drama with things Tua was saying, people not showing up to meetings or showing up late. It was bad. It was really bad. But they quieted a lot of that last week. They weren't even on your hot mess rankings this week.
No, they weren't.
When Tua is distributing the ball, and the defense held the Falcons to 45 rushing yards, and they were the 4th ranked rushing team heading into that game. We didn't talk about the Dolphins at all this week. If they beat the Baltimore Ravens, we're going to come in tomorrow, and it's going to be about Lamar, it's going to be about Harbaugh, and it's going to be about the Ravens. The Dolphins can quiet the noise here a little bit.
Yeah, and this big win would have them at 3-6.
Sure. But so would Baltimore, it would have them at 3-5.
Right, but here's the catch on
That's
that.
interesting.
No,
I'm
but-
sitting here thinking about what you're saying.
But we're eliminating the teams above them in this case because Pittsburgh could lose to Indianapolis and then they're 4-4. And they're
but we're looking at it through different lenses. You're looking at it through Baltimore making a run and potentially winning a division and going on a playoff run here.
Right.
I'm looking at Miami saving their jobs and coming back next year, and this is a step towards that.
Yeah, they've only lost to one team with a losing record, and that being the Cleveland Browns. That's it. Like their 0-3 start, we look at that differently now, considering what the Colts are, the Patriots are, and the Bills are.
There you go.
So I think Smalls might be on to something. And you look at their remaining 9 games, 5 of them are against teams with losing records. So
Maybe they just need a little confidence.
I think they're done. I think it's a stretch. But if the Miami Dolphins were to win tonight, knowing how Mike McDaniel and Tua beat up on teams with losing records throughout the course of their history together, I don't think it's off the table for them to do enough to potentially sell to ownership stability as opposed to blowing things up, knowing that they're already committed to paying Tua his salary in 2026. Now, here's the thing. I've been a proponent of moving on from Tua and looking at that salary for next year as a sunk cost because I don't want to commit any more money to him in future years. But if they're able to stack some wins, if they're able to rattle off, 3, 4, 5 wins, then all of a sudden that changes how you look at this season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say they're going to be 2-9 coming back from Madrid.
I agree with
I
you.
think they're going to lose the next 3. I understand.
I
It's an
agree with
interesting
you.
spin, but it's a spin, right? Because it's just, and I'm not saying you're wrong.
But you're doing the same thing with the Baltimore Ravens. You're doing the
I have a
exact
two-time MVP.
I understand that, but we're doing the exact same thing with the Baltimore Ravens. They are both 2-win teams.
Correct.
So the spin that we're giving the Miami Dolphins is the same exact spin that we're having for the Baltimore Ravens. It is in no way, shape, or form based in anything that we have seen from either team this year.
Correct.
So far.
The this year part, the so far part. That's the important part. I can't, for me, get the history of Tua out of my head, and I can't get the history of Lamar out of my head. It's well done. Well done. I was going to try to come up with a word of the day back at you because it was so good that I wanted to come up with a smart word.
I think Smalls is making a great point, and I know we got to get to Catman in a second. But as ridiculous as it sounds, us trying to frame it in a way that saves Mike McDaniel's job and Tua's job, that's what we're doing with the Baltimore Ravens is equally as ridiculous.
That's the biggest. Then the insult to the Ravens is strong there. Because if you're saying that they're the same as the Dolphins.
They're 2-5.
They've earned it.
Lurking giants? That's what Orlovsky said. Do we have one in Chicago? I don't know. We're going to find out next. We're on Sportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance.
Football Sunday on ESPN Radio. It's an NFC North showdown in the Motor City.
I don't know if there's any quarterback with more pressure on his shoulders.
J.J. McCarthy returns for the Vikings when they face Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions.
He's walking in with the weight of the world on him.
Coverage begins Sunday at noon Eastern with kickoff at 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio.